Today I'm going to tell another utopian story. I will tell you about the Houthis. Yes, only the lazy one does not talk about the Houthis today. But this is today about the fact that the Houthis are an important part of the game. I mentioned back in early October 2023 years, that is, when no one was talking about the Houthis yet. So, the Houthis are not just a spontaneously grown movement. This movement has been prepared for a very long time. Seemingly random, unrelated events. Maybe I'll tell you the full story of the Houthis later. Today, I want to talk about the purpose of the project. So, the Houthis, at first glance, do not behave very sensibly. They seem to be aimlessly provoking the United States and the State of Israel. Yes, their strikes on ships have made a correction in international trade. Yes, the fractum has gone up in price. Yes, oil prices soared yesterday. But the Houthis themselves have gained nothing from this. They didn't get any better. They did nothing to help the people of Gaza. They didn't even have hope for a bright future. According to the statements of the Houthi leaders, everything they do is for the benefit of the residents of Gaza. But these are all words. If the Houthis really wanted to help the people of Gaza, they would have simply invited them to their lands. In other words, they would publicly announce that they want to accept all Palestinian refugees. Yemen is now a poor country, but the UN, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and, until recently, the State of Israel, have been helping the Gaza Strip for years. In other words, billions have been going to the Gaza Strip for years. And these billions could be deployed towards Yemen today. What could be simpler? The Houthis support the Palestinians and could invite them to live on their lands. Europe, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the State of Israel would not only pay for the relocation, but would continue to maintain new Palestinian cities on the territory of Yemen. After all, there is money. They stood out and are now standing out in huge quantities. But this happens only in utopia. Naturally, the Houthis will not call the Palestinians to them. The Houthis will fire at ships, curse other people's presidents, to make raids in Saudi Arabia. And all this out of love for the residents of the Gaza Strip. Now the main question. Why are the Houthis doing all this? Why are they turning Yemen into a new Afghanistan? If we ask the Houthis themselves, even the most important ones wearing the most beautiful berets, we will not get an answer. For a very simple reason. After all, the Houthis are only part of a larger plan. In other words, they are pawns who die in someone else's game. But there is a plan. And no one is hiding it from us. The world is divided into two poles. The old traffic flows are changing. And what used to go through the Suez Canal, according to the new plan, will go through Saudi Arabia. I have already told you a little about the railway. It will pass through Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and the State of Israel. Then the cargo will go to Europe through the port terminals of Israel. The railway is almost ready. There was an unfinished site in Jordan and in Israel. As it is, it will be launched soon. And this is not something new, because all this has already happened. After all, they will launch not only a new Silk Road from India to Europe, they will launch a new oil pipeline from the Persian Gulf Coast to Haifa. Rather, this is not a new oil pipeline, but a reanimated old one, which was called Tapline. Here is a brochure from 1951, in which it is written that the construction of the world's largest oil pipeline system has been completed. Saudi Arabia's oil is now available on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. It also says here that the oil supplied via Tapline is owned and controlled by the United States. This oil in the hands of American interests will contribute to peace because this is what America wants and what it will insist on. So in 1951, all Arab oil belonged to the Americans. This, I think, will be interesting to those who still believe in the great economic miracle that camel riders have created. So, the largest Arabian oil pipeline successfully pumped oil up to 1967th year. True, he initially settled 4 ports in Haifa, but after the creation of the State of Israel, oil flowed through the Lebanese port of Sidon. So, in 1951st year, the largest oil pipeline was built. And it was built correctly. Oil flows directly from the Persian Gulf field to the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. Hundreds of tankers going through the Suez Canal were not required. Oil went straight to where it was needed. Then came a new stage. The global plan has changed. A new startup, China, has begun to develop. And oil was transported with tankers to China, Hong Kong, and South Korea. And the top-line oil pipeline was shut down until the right time. Everything changes. China is no longer the main industrial zone of the world. India was designated the main industrial zone. Traffic flows are beginning to change before our eyes. It looks like a chain of randomness. Quite by chance, in the 2004 year, a war broke out in Yemen. The war did not end for 20 years. Then the Saudis threw sticks into this bonfire, then the Americans. They seem to have been trying to restore order to these lands for 20 years. But the more they tried, the more Yemen plunged into chaos. And now it has happened. Yemen is exactly the country where everyone is ready to fight. Every teenager hates Americans, and since childhood has seen only poverty, devastation, and military valor. The older ones. A whole generation of real fighters has grown up in Yemen. They don't care about the goal anymore. Goals will be shown any. And these people will fight. After all, they can't do anything else. So, Yemen is exactly the region that, according to the new plan, will logically explain to investors and ordinary people why the Red Sea is no longer an important transport system. Why will goods be transported through Saudi Arabia, Jordan, to the ports of the State of Israel? Why will oil stop being transported by tankers from the Persian Gulf? Oil will be delivered by pipeline to the same Israel. Investors will also be told that Egypt's economy is collapsing. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just that ships will no longer go through the Suez Canal. The company will not pay Egypt a transit fee. Egypt will not receive its usual profit, and this will lead to the impoverishment of Egypt, which in turn will cause unrest in the country. And who is to blame? Of course, the Houthis. They changed the world logistics. It is because of the Houthis that the oil pipeline from the Persian Gulf to the State of Israel will be launched. It is because of the Houthis that the new Amman-Gaza railway will open. So there are small changes going on. No one will fully extinguish the chaos in Yemen. Yes, there will be military operations, the purpose of which is not victory. The purpose of these operations is participation. The chaos in Yemen is for a long time, at least until a new transport system is built. The Persian Gulf of Gaza is everything. Watch my channel.